Dr. Crispin.
Here.
Mr. Fleischer.
Here.
Ms. Larson.
Here.
Ms. Minji.
Here.
Mr. Cinto.
Here.
Mr. Schwartz. Ms. Snodgrass.
Here.
Ms. Wiedemann.
Here.
Mr. Feinberg.
Here, Mr. Schwartz had a business commitment and is unable to attend this evening. Thank you. If we could rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you want to speak to the live stream?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Feinberg. We are still experiencing technical difficulties with the live stream, and they're going to continue to work on that. When they get it working, it will be live in that moment. The meeting will be recorded and will be available online afterwards. And is the technical difficulty impacting the cable channel access? Okay, all right. So if you could just let us know so that we can let people know when we are live. Thank you.
Before we start the meeting, I just want to remind everyone that masks are now required to be worn properly while in all of our school buildings. The order from the Acting Secretary of Health became effective on September 7th. That order requires a school entity, including Haverford School District, to require and to enforce a requirement that all teachers, children, students, staff, and visitors wear a face covering indoors in school buildings. This requirement applies to activities in school buildings after school hours, such as this board meeting. Everyone in attendance tonight must wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth until you exit the building. When we invite participants to the front for public comment, you'll need to keep your mask on. If you do not have a mask, we have provided masks in the back of the room, and you could go and get one to wear during the meeting. If you choose not to wear a mask during the meeting, you'll be required to leave the building. And you may observe the meeting. At this point, we don't have a live stream, but we'll be back to having streaming on the web at a later date. We thank everyone for your cooperation as the district complies with this order. I'll accept a motion to approve the official minutes from the September 2nd, 2021 regular public board meeting.
Cinto moves.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, I noted that Larry Feinberg was listed as both being present and absent, which I don't think is possible. He was in attendance, so he should be removed from the members that were absent.
Thank you. We have no public comment for agenda items this evening.
We didn't vote on the agenda.
Okay. All in favor on the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is superintendent's remarks. Dr. Rushi.
Thank you. I'm going to start with a few highlights, two in particular being building-based, and that is Linwood Elementary School and the new wing here at the high school. If you'll just indulge me for just a few moments, we have a few slides here to share with you. And there you can see Linwood. There was a lot of excitement as the children entered Linwood and had their own child-centered ribbon cutting opening day of the school year. Lots of wide open spaces. The children are enjoying the cafeteria space, the library space, and as you can see, the gymnasium space there as well. In addition, they've got a phenomenal playground that I'm sure will be the envy of many. And nice that they've had some good weather to experience on using that playground already. You can see the classrooms, the windows in the classrooms are letting in tremendous light, natural light into those rooms. And we can't wait to see how the teachers and children make the best use of that space. Moving on to the high school, I commented last week being out back on the other side of the field as people were looking over at the building that the way that addition is nestled in there, you'd almost think that it was always part of the building. Our architects did a great job figuring out how to add these classrooms onto an already existing building. There again, you see the classrooms in use, and one thing that is quickly becoming a favorite here, a courtyard area for outdoor seating during lunch. That's not a result of COVID. That was always planned by the staff here at the high school as a nice opportunity for kids to get outside and eat lunch in the outdoors. So as I said, they're making great use of these two facilities already. And we're very, very appreciative of all that has gone into bringing those buildings to fruition.
Dr. Rushi, if I could interrupt you just for a second. I just want to mention both of those building projects came in on time and under budget. And we certainly thank all the taxpayers of Haverford Township. If you haven't seen these, the new addition and the new building, I'd urge you to go take a look. They're both beautiful. So,
Thank you. Our teachers and staff members, both in and outside of the classroom, are diligent and doing a phenomenal job of helping students transition back to school with fewer mitigation strategies than we had to adhere to in the past, but still adhering to ones that are keeping everyone healthy now. In the buildings in which we have had to quarantine students, and to date, since our schools open, we have had 7 cases of in-school positive COVID cases throughout the district. That's 7 since the school year started. In those buildings in which students have had to be quarantined, the necessity to quarantine came from the proximity of students to one another in the cafeteria. That's the primary reason for which we are quarantining students. Not the only one, but it's the primary reason for which we are. We know that the plexiglass from our previous speaker that we had at our board meetings, that it is not required by CDC, and in some instances, there's a belief that it can create almost a false sense of security. But for us, our primary reason in utilizing that plexiglass was with the hope that we would be able to reduce the number of quarantines and be able to keep students in school. When we were making those plans, CDC guidelines were not in effect. But in the CDC guidance, which we are following because that's what the Pennsylvania Department of Health has guided all districts to follow in counties where you do not have a local health authority, we look to see how they're defining close contacts. So a close contact in a classroom, or if you are outside where students are seated, the close contact definition would be 3 to 6 feet of an infected student. But if they're both wearing masks, then they don't have to quarantine. But in our cafeterias where they're fewer than 6 feet and the masks are off, that's why students are quarantining. We know that the most important mitigation factor when students who are not vaccinated are not masked, next on the tier, is distancing. So until our students aged 5 through 11 have that vaccine at least available to them, we will prioritize distancing during lunch times. This is going to look very different in each of the buildings. And the transition will begin next week, but it is going to end in some of the buildings in very, very different ways. So what does that mean? In some buildings, the gymnasium is now going to be used again for lunch because it will allow us to distance the children, use plexiglass only if that child or the child's parents indicate that they feel more comfortable with it, But we will be able to remove the plexiglass, have the students distanced, and therefore we will not have to quarantine students. They will no longer be considered a close contact because their mask is removed when they are eating lunch. As I mentioned, that will look very different in one building compared to the next, because it all comes down to a matter of square footage and what is available. We have tried over the last 2.5 weeks to look at plans that can be consistent and a timeline that can be consistent. And what it's doing is holding some schools up who are ready to move students around and remove the plexiglass from doing so, because we're waiting for everybody to be ready. And we're not going to do that. We're going to start making those changes where we can make them. On the heels of this, I need to speak once again about our desperate need for staffing: custodial, food service, lunch monitors, bus drivers, and substitutes. You may have seen some of our neighboring districts and the changes that they have had to make, even to student schedules, because of bus driver shortages. The changes that they are making to food services because of shortages with food service workers. Our only solution is not just to ask our own community, but that is one, any opportunity I get to let people know what a wonderful place this is to work, and encourage people who may be able to work with us to consider some of those roles. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to those people who are doing that work every day, because many of them are picking up extra duties. Many of them are willing to work additional hours if that's what it will take. Many of them may have had other opportunities to do things elsewhere, but they chose to stay with us. And for that, we are very grateful. So please, if you know any of your friends or neighbors who work in those departments, work as bus drivers, food service workers, or custodians, please thank them. Thank them from the bottom of your heart for sticking with us and for continuing to pitch in departments that are so desperately.
Thank you, Dr. Rishi. Next item is High School Project Phase 2, KCBA.
Mike isn't working in the back on the side.
There we go. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you. We're here tonight, myself and Ryan from KCBA, just to do a presentation. We received the bids on the second part of the high school for the Music Wing addition. So we'll present that here in a second. But really, it was good news. We got a great bunch of bidders. We had about 7 or 8 bidders in each trade, with the exception of the electricians. There were 3. But the good news is all the numbers were very consistent, close together, which is an indication that these guys did a great job on the drawings and the contract documents, so that's good. So we feel like we have some good contractors. Ryan will present who the apparent low bidders are. So we're just here tonight to present that, and then the goal would be to get it approved at the next board meeting to proceed. So with that, I'll let Ryan jump right into it.
Good evening. It's great to be back once again to present the Project 2 bid results for the high school. So just a brief recap for those of you who might not know the project. We're adding a 1-story classroom addition onto the other side of the high school that was not added onto yet. So it is a classroom addition of music rooms. And then we're also renovating some of the internal spaces there next to the gymnasium and behind the auditorium where we're sitting now. So as you can see, that ghosted area behind the band, orchestra, and existing fitness rooms, that's where the addition is going to be, shown in yellow here. So once again, a band room with all of its associated storage, practice rooms, as well as an orchestra room, again with associated practice, storage, offices. And then the existing spaces get renovated into a new chorus room, as well as an expanded lifetime fitness classroom. Behind the stage, these areas are expanded and renovated. The existing keyboard music classrooms, along with the existing toilet rooms, are all being expanded and renovated. So you can see that keyboard classroom is enlarged. There are also 2 theater green rooms, which are going to be built as part of this project, and then those enlarged restrooms that I mentioned before. So exterior rendering here of the addition going into that corner. You can see some similar materials to Project 1 addition, some brick. The additional piece to this project is some metal panel to celebrate the music programs here at Haverford High School. On the interior renovation, the fitness room renovation includes both a turf-like flooring product in part of the fitness classroom. This room can be divided, and the other side will be primarily for weights, but we'll have a rubber-type floor for multiple activities in fitness education. And then the spaces, all very similar, but varying in size and tuned for specific instrument or vocal ensembles, will also be built as part of this project. So the recommended alternates, sorry, it's a little dark there. The recommended alternates that were bid as part of this project, one of the alternates was a structural framing alternate. Right now, material delays and obtaining materials for projects is one of the biggest problems in construction today. So we incorporated an alternate which switches the type of steel structure used to support the roofs. And that actually came back as a credit to move to what would typically be a more expensive, but it is more durable, and we're able to get it on time in order to keep the project schedule as designed. 2 other alternates for the interior, terrazzo flooring. So the existing corridors of the public areas of the high school have terrazzo flooring, so there was an alternate to match that. And then additionally, laminated glazing in the classroom doors for enhanced security, which you have at Linwood, as well as the addition in the high school. And then some mechanical plumbing alternates. One is to replace the boilers with high-efficiency condensing boilers and the heat exchanger. All of those equipment pieces sit in the basement. They're towards the end of their life, so it's recommended to accept that those alternates. Additionally, air conditioning. With this project, the balance of the high school that is not currently air conditioned would be air conditioned, and this alternate brings all the spaces in the high school into air conditioning with that added team room air conditioning. Additionally, extended chiller warranty, which once again is an insurance policy for the district as we move forward through maintenance, and just provides another level of comfort moving forward. 2 other site work alternates, which allow the kind of move some of the, how do I say that? Move some of the risk onto the contractor with the unclassified site work as we move through construction, as well as sod, which you'll see was also used on Project 1, so those lawn areas will be sodded in Project 2. And then lastly, as an overall renovation of the high school, there was a majority of masonry restoration work included in Project 1, as well as base bid for Project 2. So there is an additional alternate to expand that, incorporate more of that repair work as part of Project 2. So as last presented before we went out to bid, Project 2 with soft cost was just under $9 million, the estimated total project cost. So that brings both Project 1 and Project 2 totals just under 19 million. We also were including a few of those alternates that we just discussed as wish list items in case the project didn't come in with favorable bids to give us a total estimated project cost at just over $20 million. So I'm pleased to present that Project 2 base bid did come in a little bit higher than we were anticipating. So that brings the total of Project 1 and Project 2 to just over $19 million. However, the alternates were below budget, under budget. So that brings the total overall estimated project cost to just under $20 million. So you can see the balance of those alternates really helped to keep the project under budget. And we talked about those alternates that we're recommending to accept. So for low bidders, there was general construction, which was SB Conrad, mechanical construction, Tri-County Mechanical, plumbing construction, J.R. Reynolds, and then electric is Westcott Electric Company. Going back to the schedule, as Ken mentioned, today we're just presenting the bids, and then you see there in red at the October 7th board meeting, we would be looking to the board to vote to accept bids and award construction contracts for Project 2. And then starting in November 2021, that's when we would start getting into the construction process with the contractors, meetings, starting to set up the site for construction. Likely there won't be too much action on the site, but mostly setup items. But then through November, December, you'll start to see movement on the building addition. And that's a good point to bring up too. We've brought it up before, but want to reiterate it. The construction schedule during the school year, none of the interior spaces will be affected during the school year. All the students will remain in their same classrooms. All the academic spaces inside of the building will remain. All the work during the school year will be on the exterior of the building, building the addition. Once summer comes, we flip that switch. The contractors move into the building, complete all the renovations during the summer to be completed for next fall school year. And that's the presentation.
Questions from the board?
I have one. I know that there is a formal process kind of outlined on our responsibility to go with the lowest qualified bidder. Looking at the firms that advanced on that basis, can you tell us a little bit about their experience or work on similar projects?
Sure. So between Ken's firm and my firm, we've either worked with all of them or have extensive knowledge of their experience. They're all capable construction companies, as you mentioned, right? We're required to take the lowest bidder, but we did do our due diligence in investigating the firms that, especially the ones that we have not worked with before. We've investigated all of them, and they are all capable contractors.
Westcott Electric just did Linwood, and SB Conrad did the Oakmont renovation of the administrative offices.
Other questions from the board?
I just have a quick question. So I know there was I think it was steel that was being changed because of, just what everyone has heard of, the backlog of materials and things like that. And so with all of the different materials that would be projected to be used in this renovation and addition, we don't see anything else being a problem with this timeline. It seems like it would start in November, but be completed by next September for school.
Sure. Well, so that is still a concern for some materials, yes, and that is the very first thing that's going to be the topic of conversation with the contractors. There are some things I was mentioning to somebody earlier. Underground plastic piping, larger size, is months and months and months out. So there are some things that we're going to have to look at, and that's the first topic of discussion to make sure we get on top of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, a related question is about the cost of materials due to shortages. I'm hoping that things are going to start moving quickly just in terms of, supply chains being reinstated, but do we anticipate shortages driving up the costs in the future, or we're pretty locked in here?
So the only example would be for something like that pipe, if we just can absolutely not get it and it would have a real effect on the project, we may switch to concrete pipe, which is more readily available, and there would be a little bit of a premium cost for that. But generally, haven't heard of anything that's, on all the projects so far, that's been really a big issue. That's one of the biggest ones, especially for underground storm water work.
And on low bid, the contractor's locked into their total price, so it's advantageous to them to
Correct.
secure their materials as quickly
That's
and
right.
efficiently as possible. So
Okay.
it's a good position for the school district to be in.
Yeah, they can't come back and just say steel went up 40%,
Okay,
and
good,
all of a sudden
okay.
you have to pay for it, the way these bids are locked in
Okay.
versus private work.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, thinking about building timelines, so in addition to any supply chain issues, cost of materials, how confident are you that these firms can staff the project, that they have the manpower we need?
Sure, a great question. This is not, you're not talking any huge manpower for a project of this size, and especially the way that we're doing the addition first. You might only have a couple of electricians, 2 plumbers. It's not a huge workforce for the scale of the job, especially over the time and the way it's been divided up. The addition's going first, and then they'll have the summer to go to the inside. So there isn't this, on a larger scale job where you can really ramp up to, 150 workers at one time. We're not going to have that. It'll be pretty flat and consistent. So that's not a concern.
Any other questions from the board?
I would just like to make a comment on how exciting this is as an investment in music education and the whole child here in Haverford. We just received, 7 years in a row, best in class for music education. It's extremely important, and it sends a message that this is very important. If I can reiterate that again, it's an important part of the education here in Haverford, music as well as fitness and art. Thank you, guys.
I'd just like to mention also for the public, the impetus for both of these projects was we did enrollment projections a few years ago that predicted that we'd have 400 more students in the high school. So phase 1, we added 12 classrooms, and that's completed. And phase 2, now we're going to be expanding some of the common areas, as you saw in the presentation. So, any other questions?
Any Linwood updates on parking lots or fields?
Sure. So the parking lot, there's still some work. The parking lots are some of it's temporary. They did get the permanent paving done in the main parking lot in the front of the building. So there is still work to be done. You can see the machines are still out there. They're going to be out there another 6 to 8 weeks finishing the field in front. That becomes the new, full-size soccer field and whatnot, or whatever it's going to be used for. So they will be there doing that. They're waiting for the leaves to fall from the nurseries to get the trees. So, there's certain times a year you do that. So over the next 6 to 8 weeks, most of that should be cleaned up, landscaping done, and wrap up the rest of it.
Okay, well, thank you both very much. It's exciting.
There was a few Linwood change orders. Any questions on them? There was only 3. Okay, great. Thank you all very much.
Just want to mention the live stream is now up and running, so if you're sitting in the audience and you can't see us, you can watch us on your phone. Next item on the agenda is financial statements as of July 2021. Martha?
No,
Nope.
you're asking for approval.
Of,
The business office is just beginning to present the new financial statements. We're starting with the month of July of this year. These are summarized statements. Our goal is to have more detailed statements as we go forward. So we're just presenting the July statements for the budgets the board's acceptance.
So these are information purposes and to be augmented next month.
Next month, we'll have August, and hopefully we'll have more detail on the future ones.
Got it.
Thank you for compiling this and setting up a system where we'll get these reports regularly. I think it'll be interesting to see the activity throughout the year, and just to be mindful, just for the public's benefit, we were given 3 statements, one on the general fund, food services, and capital reserve, and to have the visibility and ability to monitor this will be helpful. Thank you.
As well as the ability to kind of learn how you report and how you work with us. Since you are still relatively new, it's a good learning opportunity for us. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board on the financial statements? Next up, I'll accept a motion to approve disbursements from the funds as listed.
Fleischer moves.
Crispin, second?
Moved in second. Any discussion?
In this category, I also wanted to say thank you for changing the format of the report. The bill list is now notated with just a brief comment about what the expenditures are for, what kind of business category or service category they fit under, and I think that's a helpful addition, something I had asked for before, and it's nice to see that it's being rolled out.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept a motion to accept the recommendation of the project architect, KCBA and Associates, Inc., and owner's representative, CB Development Services, Inc., and authorize the change order totaling $36,082.74 as listed.
Fleischer moves.
Minji, second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept a motion to authorize special counsel for tax assessment appeals to resolve the following assessment appeal pending in the Court of Common Pleas of Delaware County under the terms as listed.
Snodgrass, moved.
Minji, second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept the motion to approve the Plan Con H documents from PDE associated with general obligation bonds, Series A 2010 bonds, and authorize proper officers of the board to execute these documents.
Snodgrass, moved.
Larson, second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
I would ask just for an overview of this. I know it was a topic at the past Facilities and Finance Committee meeting, but it might be helpful just to reiterate for folks who didn't tune into that one.
When these projects, these older projects were done, the district was entitled to go through a process called Plan Con, where the state will reimburse you for a portion of the cost of the project. When the 2000 series debt was put into place, the Plan Con process was not completed. When we refinanced the 2019 debt, it was uncovered that this process was never completed. So at this point in time, we're asking the board to accept the Plan Con H step so that we can get the reimbursement from the 2010 debt as well as the 2019 debt.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept the motion to approve the agreement for engineering services with Effective Energy Solutions LP for the engineering services related to the replacement of the middle school chillers not to exceed $45,600.
Fleischer moves.
Larson, second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Just a clarification, because this agenda item is also related to the next agenda item about the proposal to purchase the chillers. Could somebody speak to the kind of engagement we've already had with this effective energy solutions in helping to tee up the selection of the chiller equipment.
EES worked directly with Johnson Controls to make sure that the appropriate materials were spec'd out, and so that when Johnson Controls provided us with their proposal, that it is engineered correctly. So it's just the two worked together to make sure we got the proper fit and the proper need for our district.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's just helpful to connect the dots that we're approving this tonight, but they've already been engaged in helping set up this project. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept a motion to approve the water-cooled chiller plant retrofit proposal with Johnson Controls for the replacement of the middle school chillers not to exceed $788,865.
Wiedemann moved.
Larson second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
What's the timeline for this project, if it's approved tonight?
I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that question. I can certainly get it for you.
I believe it was discussed at the Facility and Finance Committee meeting. There was a lead time item. If I recall, it would be kind of a winter break time frame for the equipment to come in and be installed. But I could be off on that, but I think it is, to happen later this year.
And are we confident that Johnson Controls can deliver the product? There are no supply chain issues, or, it's like a pretty complex system here.
They can deliver.
They're pretty reputable, and we've done business with them for a long time. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept a motion to approve the following leave request.
Fleischer move.
Crispin second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept the motion to accept the retirement resignations as listed.
Snodgrass moved. Crispin second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I'll accept the motion to approve the following properly certified persons as guaranteed daily substitute teachers to work each school year. I'll accept the motion to approve the following appointments as listed.
Fleischer moves.
Larson second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, just glad to see a lot more appointments than resignations in this current employment climate. Thank you to the HR and administrative teams for doing another round of excellent hiring, it looks like.
Here, here.
And Mr. Feinberg, if I may, just one of the appointments this evening is that of Mr. Greg DeCina as the Assistant Principal Athletic Director
Who?
position at the secondary level. Mr. DeCina is an outstanding teacher in our high school, and while we will miss him terribly in the classroom, we look forward to the impact that he can have in working as an assistant principal with other teachers and sharing his craft and the work that he has done. He's also no stranger to the athletic field in that he has been a coach for a number of our teams, and we're thrilled to make this recommendation to you this evening to appoint Mr. DeCina as our next assistant principal athletic director. And Mr. DeCina, in true Haverford fashion, our curriculum office has a nice little goodie bag for you filled with books to read.
I will just for 1 minute say that Mr. DeCina, I've watched him grow since Coopertown Kindergarten And that group of boys are some of the greatest kids we've produced, I think, in Haverford. And I'm so proud of him, but I'm so happy for him. And I congratulate him on a job well done. This is a job that you're suited for, Greg. And I will say, I hate to see you leave the classroom. The opportunities that I had to watch you teach were really, really wonderful. So lots of kids get to talk to you now, and that's pretty cool. Congratulations, Gregory. Sorry.
Congratulations. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept a motion to accept the recommendation of special counsel and authorize the resolution of pending special education administrative proceedings and authorize the administration to implement the terms of the resolutions as listed below.
Fleischer moves.
Larson second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll accept a motion to approve the following educational service contracts for services provided to students and/or staff with the district.
Snodgrass moved.
Crispin second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the second session public comments. We have 8 speakers signed up. When I call your name, if you could please come to the mic, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Our first speaker is Krista Kerber. Krista? Going once, going twice? Okay. Our next speaker is Nicole Perrine Wilson.
Brian Wilson, 136 Gulf Hills Road. Good evening. I'm here today to offer my support for the BASIS program and also to encourage the board, our superintendent, and school administration to do even more. As a new parent to the district, I'm very proud to learn of the opportunities that are afforded to all of our students by the commitment to fostering a sense of belonging and acceptance in our schools. I'm encouraged to think that my daughter will be able to move through our schools with the resources, support, and validation that our students deserve. As wonderful as our BASIS program is, there's a piece that's still missing that would have a profound impact on all students and staff alike. Our students need to be able to see themselves in our teachers, administrators, support staff, and coaches. Our school buildings are mirrors for our students, and unfortunately, many of our students have no opportunities to see themselves reflected back. Haverford must make a concerted effort to hire diverse staff. Who benefits from this? We all do. For some students, the relationships they form with adults in our schools are their windows to an increasingly multicultural world. Quite frankly, in the absence of a more diverse staff, we are robbing our students of the preparation they are owed to thrive in a global society. Show our students that we truly value them. Make equity in hiring more than just a goal, make it a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tom Thornton. Tom?
Good evening, Dr. Rushi, Board President Feinberg, School Board members. My name is Tom Thornton. I reside at 422 Kathmere Road, and I'm running for school board in this upcoming election. I do not pretend to think that your jobs over the course of the last 18 months have been easy, because it's been very difficult. And while I may not agree with a lot of the things that you've done to navigate the pandemic, I do thank you for your efforts, because the kids are in school, and that's the most important thing. The biggest reason for my wanting to run for the school board is to give the board a broader representation and a different perspective on many of the issues that you guys are presented with on a daily basis. Quite frankly, I believe that the board needs more balance. I'm a local business owner. I know people. I know how to deal with people. I've been dealing with people my whole life. I've lived in Haverford Township for over 40 years of my 52 years. This is my hometown. This is where I decided to come back and make my home base when I moved away for a little bit. And this is where I want to be. So now it's my time to step up and say that we need more representation for the broader base of people that we represent here in Haverford Township. And I don't feel like we're getting it here. I look back, if anybody's interested in going to YouTube for a school board meeting on 11/16 of 2017, in the 22nd minute, Mr. Feinberg warned of the possibility of a 9-0 school board and what that could mean to the township. And I think we're seeing a lot of discourse with the different people in this township, and I think we need to reel it back in, and I think we need people to be responsible in representing both sides and bringing people together. Because what we're seeing at these school board meetings, not tonight, but in the past, is just not a good representation of what we want for our children. And I think that needs to change. A few things that I feel like I could be helpful with. I know that I have Wednesdays off from my business, and I don't know what you guys do on your days off, but I know that I would commit myself to going to the different schools, maybe 3 a week, and finding out what the needs are, getting to know the administration, getting to know the teachers, getting to know the janitors, knowing people's names, everybody, the people that make it happen, and that's important. Number 2, I do believe that we have to get the politics off the school board, as I alluded to earlier. You know, there's too many things going on where we're not getting total representation of what everybody in the township feels. Number 3, let's focus on the children. Let's teach them respect for everyone. Let's teach them respect for authority, police figures, firemen, the military. That's what's lost in today's society. The kids are not getting educated at a low level and up through the high school. Respect for everyone. I need to wrap it up, I know that, right? Let's teach them history and how we can learn from history, the good and the bad. And then the children that have special needs, let's make sure that they get taken care of. I'll be back at the next school board meeting because I do have a few other things that I wanted to address, but I want to thank you for your time tonight. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Our next speaker is Helene Conroy-Smith. Helene.
Good evening. My name is Helene Conroy-Smith. My address is 32 East Westwood Park Drive, Havertown. I, too, am running for school board. I'm not as political as Tom. He's so kind. I get straight to the point. I've been asking for months for things, kindly meeting, sat on IDC, was PTO president, did all these nice things, and I'm done being nice. So today I look at a scan agenda, and I ask, how many stakeholders can really speak on the agenda items? They're not really clearly defined. They're not really public for us to really see or understand. So, like many things, our policies, curriculum, our agenda, our contracts are really undefined and unknown to the people of this township. We pay for our taxes here. The school district of Haverford Township is here because of the taxpayers. So I'd like to talk about some of the things that I really see. Let's talk about one is our children. And I have an issue that we have books in our middle school that are totally inappropriate for ages 11 to 14. Out of Darkness by Perez is a social justice book, and it's in our middle school. It contains many, I can't even say it, enough information that's too graphic for our children. And I'm going to read on this because this is very upsetting to me as a mother and as an educator. And it talks about how adult males get young girls to engage in sexual acts, and I have a problem with that. So let me just give you a little bit here. He shifted in his pajamas, and that part of him that made him a man stuck out. Reddish purple, frightening. This was different. He lifted her hand to his mouth and licked it. And he then lowered her hand down and closed it around the harness. His hand moved hers. She watched her hand move back and forth like it didn't belong to her. That's what our kids are seeing, a 13-year-old. My 11-year-old would be in this school right now. Thank God she's not in our district. I purposely pulled my kid out to save her because this book is totally inappropriate. My 6th grader, she's interested in anime. She's interested in going down to the Asian market and getting Japanese soda. She's interested in hanging out with her friends and swimming. That's what she's interested in. She's not interested in boys. She's interested in being friends. She has no interest in being sexual in 6th grade. Our children do not need to read this. You continually, this board, continually to push this progressive value system. It is not okay, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop now. And those of you that are on the board, do something. Step up, say no, and stop it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Angela Urso. Angela?
Hi, I'm Angela Urso. I live at 1242 Dill Road. As you know, there was an incident last week on bus 41 in the morning. I am aware that there is an investigation going on, and your answers to my questions are limited. But this impacted many students and families. I'm sure we've all seen the videos of the bus driving up Manoa Road with the emergency door open, stemming from a hose that broke, resulting in boiling antifreeze spraying into the cabin of the bus. This resulted in thermal burns of several of the children and pure panic in many others. It's my understanding that bus 41 is our oldest bus, purchased in 2005, that this exact incident has happened on many other buses countrywide, resulting in similar injury, and that this bus is only used when another bus is out for mechanical issues, which was the case on this day. I do not understand how things went so wrong. Why is our district using a bus that did not have the proper changes made to it to prevent this specific incident from happening? How can a bus driver drive up Manoa Road, passing a safe place to stop on the way, through the intersection of Westchester Pike and Manoa with the emergency door open? There was no function on this bus that alerted the driver that the emergency door was open, besides the alarm. Apparently, the alarm was not nearly loud enough, as it's my understanding the driver has said that he did not hear the alarm. So this is why he did not stop. Although children have reported the driver yelling at them, telling them to shut the emergency door the whole way. Because the children were panicking, steam from the antifreeze presented itself as smoke to them. They thought the bus was on fire. They were screaming for the driver to open the door and to pull over, and he continued past the golf club parking lot, which would have been a safe place for him to pull over, continued through the intersection while children were jumping out of the bus. Unacceptable. Once the driver finally pulled over, he didn't account for all the children on the bus. Some walked with antifreeze-soaked shoes and burns on their feet. Some parents had to come get their children because they were drenched in chemicals. Where is the accountability? When I put my children on the bus to go to school, I trust the district to at least get them to school safely. This is far from safe. The email that was sent out to the district was minimized the actual events. It was inaccurate and made it seem to the community that this was no big deal. The transparency of this district to the community is lacking, as usual. You've heard me talk about it before. Physical safety on our buses should be number one. Currently, our buses are overcrowded with children standing in the aisles, squishing 3 to 4 kids in a seat. We talk about COVID safety all the time in school. Does COVID know not to go on the bus? We have our children in masks all day, sitting in plexiglass for lunch up until tonight, and I'm thankful for that. But yet, when it comes to the buses, there's nothing that I could find in the health and safety plan regarding them. How do we expect these bus drivers to focus on the road and the kids in the overcrowded buses where the kids are standing, kids are being bullied, kids are vaping, kids are using racial slurs, kids are taking off their masks.
Ms. Urso, could you finish up?
I am finishing up. I'm in no way minimizing Bus 41 situation. I count my blessings and really hope moving forward we can learn many things from this. It's just unfortunate to take something as horrible as this to stimulate growth. We're so divided as a community right now, but I think we can all agree, the board, the community, Dr. Rushi, that our children's physical safety, getting them to and from school, should be number one. And real quick, I have a question. I thought that you had to have a mask to enter this building, yet I saw a gym full of students playing basketball, a full gym full of students. And second, if we're talking about safety, are those tables and a piano covering the fire door? Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rebecca Phelan.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Phelan. I live at 2535 Rosemont Avenue. I have a son in 4th grade and a daughter in 8th grade. I was at our back-to-school parents' night last night, and I just wanted to let you know it was such a celebration of our teachers' creativity and their energy and their care for our kids. And I noticed even more this year of an effort to really engage our kids, as if the teachers in every subject were saying, if you need more hands-on projects, we've got them. If you need to go outside to learn about the directions of the compass instead of memorizing them, if you can't just sit still, we understand we've got you. They're really engaging those kids who are not your traditional sit in your chair, learn the stuff kids. I was also glad to see that the social studies curriculum notes cited BASIS work as a catalyst for including more diverse and authentic readings for their class. That's for social studies. Because like all parents, I want my kids to be interested in the broader world and to be able to see their home and community with fresh eyes and realistically. Our goal is for them to be able to use the critical thinking and the imagination that is honed at our schools, and the inspiration from learning about the leaders that they can identify with in some ways, to be able to participate fully in the world, to be an advocate for themselves and for other people, to challenge the status quo that isn't working anymore, and to move beyond guilt about the past and present into action that positively impacts the future. And so for these reasons, I would just like to thank the board and the administration and the teachers for continuing to support the BASIS program. And I encourage you to expand it and strengthen it. And thank you for taking my comments.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrew Pigeon. Andrew?
Andrew Pigeon, 1728 Hawthorne Avenue, Havertown, PA. I did have a timed out 3-minute speech about the plastic, but it sounds like we are working on that, so I appreciate that. I know you can't answer questions now, but it did sound like the goal was to have them at 6 feet apart everywhere, and if that is the case, even without a mask, there is no quarantine or there is no close contact. That was my biggest problem with the plastic, was that it didn't avoid the close contact. Obviously, you guys know that I'm very anti-mask, but I do see the value in sitting in a classroom where both parties are masked, where if somebody's brother or sister at home test positive and they were at school together and the desks are back to normal, there's no need to quarantine. So I'm in for that. It's definitely a value add of the mask. I do have to say, with the rules and reinstituting the rules, it was incredibly frustrating to walk in and see 30 people playing basketball, which is awesome. I'm glad they're playing basketball. I don't want them to not play basketball. I just don't, through all of COVID.
Dr. Rishi, can you clarify about kids playing sports and masking from the
Yes.
Secretary of Health of Pennsylvania?
Yes, from the Secretary's order, when they are on that court playing, they do not have to wear their masks.
Correct. That's the rule, and that's awesome. And I'm thankful that they could do it. I'm trying to point out the ridiculousness of it. And and the interruption. I don't know if that I don't have 3 minutes anyway, but again, you guys never respond, but you felt the need to interrupt. So that's all I have. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Sarah Fay. Sarah?
Good evening. My address is 47 Waverly Road, Havertown. I'm a little confused, I guess. I know that you made that update about the plastic barriers, Dr. Rushi. So it sounds like we're keeping them up, but nobody has to quarantine if they're, can you just reiterate, I guess?
Yeah, I will, in case there was any confusion about that. No, we are moving students 6 feet apart at the 5 elementary buildings. It's going to be a little bit different at the secondary level, but the majority of our kids are vaccinated at the secondary level. So we're focusing right now on the elementary levels and what will be available for 6th grade students. The goal is move them apart, but what we're doing, Sarah, is we're not waiting until all buildings are ready. Some are ready to start moving, make that move faster than others. So I'm not going to say by such and such a date, all plexiglass is going to be gone from every building. Some can do it faster than others.
Okay, all right. That is positive. I think one of the things that I've, kind of had some frustration with is I feel like there is this reluctance by the board to address the negative effects of masking children. And I just feel like there is some type of directive from the administration to the staff of Haverford not to discuss any negative effects of masking. The only time I've heard any board members speak of it was when Ms. Whiteman asked Dr. Brennan if he knew anything about the negative effects of masking as parents were emailing about it. And I really do appreciate you asking that question. Dr. Brennan gave a non-answer that he read one German study and didn't think it was valid. No follow-up questions were asked. And I understand that we have a current mask mandate from Governor Wolf, and you don't have the authority to overrule that. But while it works its way through the courts, we can at least be discussing this issue and trying to come up with solutions. And the issue I really want to discuss is the negative effects of masking. I know that I've seen a lot of emails that were sent to you that I was CC'd on, kids are referring to lunch as being depressing. That's not normal. So I think that really we need to start talking about, I understand that these things, may reduce some COVID transmission, but there is some cons to masking kids. There's reduced learning, there's reduced social skills, there's depression. The fact that a year and a half later, we're still not talking about this, none of the board members are talking about this. And, I'm excited to see the pictures of Linwood schools, but, that's great. But, there's other stuff going on. And I think there's a lot of students that are really struggling with anxiety and depression right now. And I just really think that we need to start talking about this as a community. We don't need to care what Governor Wolf is saying. We don't need to care what Biden's saying. We need to care what's happening to our kids. I feel like this masking issue has become so political. Everybody has to hang their hat on whatever political party says to do, and we're really losing focus of what this is actually doing to our kids. And I've made a lot of public comments about long-term effects to their immune system. I think that we're going to have a lot of kids with autoimmune issues, especially younger kids that are now in kindergarten, pre-K, their immune systems are developing and they're not developing properly because of the masking. So we may be preventing some COVID cases, but it's just important that we're not always following politicians. And I think that we've really kind of gotten lost in what does the CDC say? What does Governor Wolf say? We're really losing focus here. I sent an article to the board.
Sarah, if you could finish up.
I will. That was written by Dr. Rubin, and Dr. Rubin had been a subject matter expert previously, and he wrote an op-ed piece in the Philadelphia Inquirer titled "Fear is Our Worst Enemy When It Comes to COVID-19 in Children." And he talked a lot about how children's hospitals are filling up, and not with COVID cases, but with other viruses like RSV, because there's been a surge due to the masking. That virus wasn't circulating, and now it's circulating. This was a quote from the article, and I'll wrap it up with this. He says, "More youth are coming to children's hospitals with psychiatric emergencies. Signs that the youth behavioral health crisis that began before the pandemic has been exacerbated by the prolonged social isolation children have had to endure." And I just really think we need to start talking about this. And I hope at the next board meeting, again, Dr. Rushi, I've suggested maybe besides Dr. Brennan, we could have a panel of doctors. I think it's really important that as a community, we really start talking about this, because I know that a lot of the kids are struggling with the masking, and nobody's talking about it. And I don't know what to do anymore, how to get people to engage with me and actually address this issue, like the ESL kids. You know, Ms. Larson, I know that you have worked with ESL kids. I mean, I imagine those kids are really struggling right now with masking, and I don't know that they're learning very much. I mean, can we like check in with those teachers and figure out what's going on? I mean, I'm happy to help you with that. I'm worried that some of these kids are really getting lost. So, I mean, I'm hoping that we can start to kind of address
Your
this.
concerns are duly noted. I know that you've been active sending information to the board, and I can assure you that everybody reads those emails. They don't just go off into the ether. So we appreciate your
Can we
input.
do one of my suggestions, something? I mean, I've made a lot of suggestions, and I just like to see something start moving here in regards to addressing the negative effects of masking to kids.
Understood.
That would really make me feel like.
Sarah, I do have an appointment with Dr. Rubin at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and I have followed up with some of the local that you and I have talked about.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is board reports. Ari?
No report.
Antoinette?
Yeah, just really quick, I, over the last few weeks, had the opportunity to tour the new high school wing, which was very exciting. I really especially enjoyed the courtyard and really just looking in and seeing the classrooms, the focus on the different science-specific elements in these classrooms, the attention to detail was just really exciting. And thank you to our community for investing in our students in this way. I also had the opportunity to tour the Linwood building. I really enjoyed back to school night, seeing everyone, seeing the community in the building was a really great experience, and just a really great job to all of the teachers, staff, everyone for having the successful back to school nights and bringing the community in. I know there are some districts that are doing all virtual back to school nights, and it was a really good experience to be in person for that. So thank you to everyone who helped facilitate that, and you know, it's exciting to be off to a good school year. So thanks.
Thanks, Antoinette. Kristen?
Not a report, but just a quick question. I don't know if we can get an update on the student who a couple weeks back had asked about swings at Manoa, to find out if there's an update on the status of that potential addition to the play yard there.
There's no specific update with details, other than that student has met with Dr. Ramundos, I believe, and they're looking at why what the challenges are that would be there and what we might do to mitigate some of those.
Anything else? Laura?
Like Antoinette, I had the opportunity to attend some of the back-to-school events at Linwood, so that's been really exciting. It's been great to see the new building in action that we've been waiting so long for, and everyone that sees it says what an amazing building it is. Everybody is just, in the community that I've talked with, is just really floored at how wonderful this new building is. So that's been very exciting. I unfortunately was not able to tour the high school, but I'm looking forward to that soon. And then also on my agenda for this week is to register for some of the PSBA advocacy and conferences. They moved some of them to be virtual, which I actually really appreciate because I wasn't going to be able to go in person, but now that they are virtual, I'm going to be able to attend. And what Fall Advocacy Day is coming up. So I'm looking forward to that. I've been enjoying those. It's been nice to advocate on behalf of our community and other schools in Delco and across the state. So I will be participating in that. And I think that's it. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Sal?
No report.
Susan?
First of all, I just want everyone to know how immensely proud I am after all the years that I've been in Haverford of these two new buildings. They're really something to see, kind of breathtaking for someone who's watched the progress and watched I mean, when I was there, when Chestnut Walled was really Chestnut Walled, and before we took it down. So it's just, I'm just so proud of being a member of the school board, and mostly proud of being a member of the community. I'm going to give you a very little PSA. My husband and I have worked very hard for the last year and a half. We've kept our bubble with just a few of just our children. We've been in the house, and we've done everything we thought we needed to do. We were double vaccinated and very proud of that and bragging to everyone. And unfortunately, we've just spent the last 6 weeks in the house with COVID as a breakthrough case. So I cannot caution everyone enough. It wasn't a fun 6 weeks. Please wear a mask. We were lucky we didn't have to be hospitalized, but we were sick. So please, I just want everyone to know, please wear your mask. Please consider all of the things that we're doing to keep these kids safe so that we can keep these kids in school. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Good to have you back. Bridget?
Thank you. I did want to give a report on September 9th. We had a facility and finance committee meeting. We talked about a couple of the items that we already went over tonight, the bid opening, the PlanCon H, and the HMS chillers. There was also discussion of researching the solar power options for the rooftop of Linwood, and we got a great update of all of the projects that the district facility and maintenance crew conducted over the summer. They were hard at work, inside, outside, all around our buildings, getting everything ready for the school year. Those committee meetings are available to watch on the district streaming site, or you can find the link on the website. I also attended the virtual PSBA monthly Pennsylvania School Board Leaders meeting this week. There were a lot of topics to be discussed, including legislative updates. There is a lot of activity here in the last weeks of the legislative session. Obviously, masking and kind of government emergency powers related to masking were hot topics. PSBA is advocating for relief from vexatious right-to-know requests and a lot of the mandates that are imposed on school districts. We're looking at improvements to special education funding and charter school, specifically charter school funding formulas. We got to talk about some crisis response communication and meeting management. Then I think it was the next day, there was the Delco Legislative Council, so that's the 15 school districts in Delaware County met. A lot of the same legislative topics were discussed, and also trying to advocate for the districts to once again get local COVID data, which would need to come from the state, which sounds like they only give it to health departments, and Delaware County does not yet have a health department, so there's some complications there, but the districts and the community's continued advocacy for that would be helpful, so we have the data to help make better decisions. I do want to thank Dr. Rushi for sharing the COVID data here from the beginning of the school year, and for walking us through, you know, the thinking and the logistics around plexiglass as one of the mitigating factors. I liked hearing the news this week that vaccines for our 5 to 11-year-olds are on the threshold. I think as these developments both within our school and our better understanding of the COVID that we're dealing with here, and things like vaccines become more widely available for our school-age kids, I look forward to having an ongoing discussion about how we can best protect the students and staff and the community who interact with our schools, and to keep our kids safely in school this school year. Thank you.
Thanks, Bridget. Just a follow-up, Bridget mentioned the Legislative Council, and I've chaired that committee for, I don't know, a dozen years, and the last couple of years I've been co-chairing it, and we are trying to finalize a letter from all 15 school districts that would go to county council and urge them to do whatever they can to facilitate all of our districts having access to the kind of data that we previously had when the Chester County Health Department was providing it. You know, we used to be able to put that data up on a dashboard, and since Chester County pulled the plug, none of our districts have had that kind of data. So I don't know if county council will be able to do much, but we'll certainly try. The board, prior to this meeting, the board met with council in executive session to review a student matter. Our next regular public board meeting will be held October 7th, 2021 at 7:30 PM right here in the auditorium of the Haverford High School. And with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Snodgrass, move.
Thanks, everybody.
I've been off on my school board meetings. Oh, no.